Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching this from. It's your man, Diego Ife, and this is another upload of the Africa Bulletin. And this time we're going to be covering news coming out from Ghana. The first item on the agenda is to report Ghana's failure to qualify for next year's African Cup of Nations to be held in Morocco. Now, this is due to a 1-1 draw with Angola, which was enough to seal their elimination from the qualifying process, and it means that the four-time champions, who are the third place record holders, 4 appearances at a tournament only, behind Egypt in first place with 26 and Ivory Coast in second place with 25. The 4-time champions are going to be missing the tournament for the first time since 2004. Granted, the team will be looking forward to bouncing back at the first time of asking. Now, the second item I'd like to cover relates to developments in the diaspora. Now, this involves Black Americans increasingly moving to Ghana as an alternative to their concerns about lifestyle and future in America. And now, this was covered by a reporter from the Philadelphia Daily News, Felicia Armstrong, and in conjunction with the Black Journalists Association, she was able to finance a trip to Ghana for 2 weeks, where she spoke and caught up with Black Americans that had made Ghana their new home. And in one such case, in fact, before I even go to that case, she attended a citizenship ceremony, where a record 524 Americans became citizens. And this indicates that despite a die down in the fanfare and hype surrounding the year of return, there are still people in the diaspora that see it as a viable settling location. Now, one case study relates to a woman called Fazara Aguman, who is a Philadelphia native, but was growing disenchanted with her opportunities and that of her families across the board. She cited escalating violence within Philadelphia and also a run-in with a police officer and her son, who was innocently skating at night. So these were critical considerations for her choosing to move to Ghana. It was a trip that she staggered over a number of years, and she attended a few times just to become familiar with the environment. Remarkably, she used to have dreams in America of a certain type of waterfalls, and when she went to Ghana, she saw waterfalls that remarkably resembled that which she saw in her dream. This was also a contributing factor towards her moving. And in 2018, she decided with her children that they were going to pack suitcases, £50 each, and they were going to head to Ghana and not be looking back. She does not regret the trip. She believes that on a broader level that their lifestyle has been improved, not necessarily based on finances per se, but just broadly, just on a holistic level. And she was very enthusiastic and happy about even her residential situation, where for only $160 per month, she's able to rent out a 4-bedroom house in a gated development. That was one reason in particular why she cited, or rather one reason she gave for not planning to return to America. There was also another Philadelphia native. Her name was Juanita Lewis. And Juanita Lewis is a doctorate holder in food science and also runs an African tech hub in Accra. Now, in conjunction with her work for the US State Department, she ran workshops teaching food science to various African women. So some of these workshops took place in Ethiopia and also, of course, in Ghana, which was how she was able to become accustomed to Ghana and the Ghanaian climes. She found she loved the food, the weather, the people, so on and so forth. And she said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. She did sound a note of caution that for people that are looking to make the move, moderate your expectations and not expect everybody to welcome you with open arms. That to varying degrees, people have been affected by their colonial experiences, and it might play out in certain interactions. So just a note of caution. It's also worth adding that it's not just multi-generational black Americans that are moving to Ghana. There are also Africans who recently moved to America, but within one generation have decided to move to Ghana. And a couple of people that featured in that report were from Sudan and Liberia respectively. So just an insight. Is really important that the viewers here and those that have diasporic connections consider what possibilities there are, because many stories and narratives can be very simplistic, so it's just worth considering. Now, the next item I would like to cover is the economic anxiety that Ghanaians are feeling in the build-up to the presidential elections due to be taking place on the 7th of December. Now, the main point of contention, and there are several issues, but the main point of contention has been the restructuring of Ghana's bonds, which was part of the conditions for the IMF giving them a $3 billion bailout. What this meant was it reduced the value of these bonds, and it also meant that the period that you'll wait for you to receive all your return on investment is going to be longer than it was before. This has meant that retired teachers, for example, have had their life savings wiped out as a result of it. There was one police officer whose story was really sort of like a shame, quite touching. He was a well-decorated police officer for the better part of 3 decades. His house is adorned with rewards and reflections of his outstanding contribution to the Ghanaian police force. And for him, as he was approaching retirement, he had a very simple plan. He was going to invest his pension in government bonds, ones that were restructured, of course, finish the construction of his house, and finance his car. Now, due to this restructuring, what it meant was that he wasn't able to do everything as planned. He had to abandon his car effectively, couldn't service it, couldn't fuel it in order to pay for medical bills, or medication, I should say. And he's naturally disgruntled about that. You've also had businesses that are impacted who are struggling to get liquidity, or shall I say cash flow, as a result of this restructuring. They've had to reduce their business activity and they've had to cut jobs as a result, unfortunately. Beyond that, you've had farmers who are broadly discontented with the economic performance in the country, who have cited that the focus on gold mining and cocoa is incessant, and that all the farmers truly need is irrigation, proper irrigation and flexible loans, and that will make a marked difference. And it's actually quite pertinent that that statement was given in the report, because for many farmers, it has been said that fertilizer will make a big difference. The presidential candidate that speaks to providing fertilizer will make a big difference and have sway on the Ghanaian electorate, which consists of nearly 19 million people out of a total of 34 million potential people. Also, I should add, in addition to what I've just mentioned and restructuring issues, other items on the agenda that are very significant pertain to education, housing and health, job training opportunities, to name some of a few. And it's worth noting that the gold mining, and this has been covered quite extensively in mainstream media, there has been a great deal of controversy around illegal mining in Ghana, which is also going to have an impact on the decision making for the election. Now, the illegal mining, which is also called in Ghanaian pidgin galamsey, or gather them and sell, has had a massive corrosive impact. It has led to environmental degradation. 75% of Ghanaian rivers have been contaminated by some of the chemicals as a result, including mercury content, as a result of this illegal mining. The illegal mining has its background in a 1989 policy, which enabled many Ghanaians to apply for mining licenses, artisanal mining licenses, in the light of burgeoning unemployment rates and a gradually worsening economy. However, as of the most recent times, The environmental degradation is not just affecting rivers, it has led to mining in forest reserves and also affecting the globe's biodiversity areas in the Ghanaian terrain. Apparently, the illegal mining contributes a great deal to Ghana's informal sector, and it means that over $2 billion of potential tax revenue is, well, not accruing to the Ghanaian government. And to add to that, you've had concerns from a number of stakeholders. There's an increase in the number of children that have gone out of school and are choosing to sell food to minors. There's been an increase in the number of sex workers who also have made themselves available for minors. So everyone's looking to cash in essentially on this mining opportunity. Another externality I should give is that the mining has also undermined cocoa plantation. So it's not just the other stuff I mentioned, but even cocoa plantation has been undermined. And it's bad enough that the Ghanaian government or officials in recent years have sequestered fertilizers that was distributed by Cadbury manufacturer Mondelez to be sold across the border in the black market to Ivorian farmers. So this issue in itself, the effect of the mining and poor governance, has really led to Ghanaians feeling the pinch, if you will, to put it mildly. And it's worth noting, which I was going to mention before when I spoke about the restructuring, is Ghana's rapid increase in its debt to GDP ratio from 63 or thereabouts percent of debt to GDP to over 90%, which was why they had to restructure it in the way that they did. And this restructuring has been put down to the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Russia-Ukraine war, and unanticipated increases in debt service and interest repayments for existing loans. I would add, though, that the mismanagement and corruption is a massive factor in why what has happened. Massive factor, and it's something which I would like to cover as part of a Black Burden series, which I will touch on a future upload. And I believe that largely covers the information I wanted to share for this particular upload. The last item, which is probably not going to be a surprise, and I do like to give a bit of an investment insight or indicator in case people are interested. I looked at the most recently issued Ghanaian sovereign debt or sovereign bonds. Those were dollar denominated bonds in October, and according to Fitch, they're rated at a CCC plus. In other words, that means that there's a high chance of default. Yeah, high chance of default. Very risky. And essentially, I think they call it non-investable grade. So that's the category that it's currently in. But notwithstanding, the situation is worth studying and covering over time. And as you watch more episodes around Ghana, we'll look to cover things quite comprehensively. At the end of the day, naturally, is going to be negatives. It is what it is. It's the news after all. But the positives should also be showcased, should receive as much attention. So listen, I thank you for watching today. I hope you all have a great day. And until next time, it's been real. Take care now.